Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pardon My Ignorance podcast. Ooh. I am your host, Jen, or as Taurean likes to call me, Jenny Apples.
Jenny Apples!
And of course, we have our other host. This is Taurean in the building.
We out here.
And a very special guest this evening.
Stop by the
This
hood.
is my dear friend, Manny. Say hello to the fans, Manny.
Thank you for having me on the podcast tonight. Really excited.
Hey, Manny, I'm here too. Look at me, please.
All right, let's calm down for a second.
So, fun fact about Manny. Manny is the very first friend I made in New York City when I moved here in 2014.
Where did you guys
It's been a long time.
We opened a restaurant together in the Upper East Side called August.
Which was a hotmess.com. So.
Yes. Such a disaster. They didn't know what the hell they were doing in the beginning. But
August?
it's called August. It's like
the month.
August.
like
open?
the month. It's still open.
Sadly.
They have a different chef there now, but it's still the same owners from back in the day. But it's like new American food, very quality cocktails, very fun.
Lots of promise, like lots of restaurants on the Upper East
Burgers
Side.
and
Yeah.
fries.
Went down real quick. Burgers and fries, exactly.
Cute, tiny little restaurant, but that's where we met, and of course we've just continued our beautiful friendship since then. But I really want to get Manny on the show because he is just one of the smartest people that I know.
Okay, let's be honest.
This
Manny
man
is truly a CIA agent.
I mean,
Totally.
can neither confirm or deny,
I
but
think he actually
definitely
likes
not.
him.
Having conversation with Manny, I'm literally just waiting on like a SWAT team to just swarm in.
They might
and
come
just
back
get
in
Manny.
any second now, but
No,
They
Manny
really
is
let's give it a sec. Let's wait.
just behind the
He's
scenes conversation.
just like-
Manny is super smart.
Super damn
It's
smart.
crazy.
Like, the guy speaks
Definitely
like
not
7
kids.
languages. He's got like 12 degrees. I don't know. We're gonna get to know Manny tonight. He's gonna like talk some topics with us, and we're just gonna have some fun, drink a little wine, and
Shoot the
get
shit.
this thing going.
And, you know, for every degree Manny has, they're totally different identities. Do what you guys
And the languages too.
Just
I
put it
think
out
we
there.
French,
You guys do what you want with this
German,
information. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
So this weekend on SNL, Elon Musk was on. I actually think it was pretty cool that like this big figure, you know, of a Elon Musk actually did it. I was like, okay, this is cool. You know, to me, it was just, I mean, he's clearly an alien. We totally know that part.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I thought it was really, really cool that he just did it. But then I also heard that it was like some cast members that didn't want to record with him, which is
A whole bunch actually. I heard the same
Who
thing.
though?
If I was there, it was probably be me. Let's be
Why?
real.
Why wouldn't you record
a
with him?
lot of people don't
No, I'm totally kidding.
like him. Like my friend Brittany, I was just with her yesterday. Shout out Brittany, finally. She always mad at me. You never shout me out.
Hey,
We always
Brittany.
talk about- she's our
Hey,
biggest
Brittany.
fan. She always likes, comments, and subscribes. So mwah, I love you, Brittany. Anyway, happy belated birthday.
Also,
Hey!
Also free Brittany.
Is Brittany in jail? Wait a minute.
Britney Spears, different Brittany.
Yeah, different
Same
Brittany.
name.
Is she in jail?
No.
No one tells me anything.
No,
Okay.
gosh. We have
That's for another time. That's
So
another
Brittany's
time.
not in jail.
She's not.
She's
Okay.
not, but she is metaphorically. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway.
Mentally, she's in jail.
Exactly.
Basically.
But, okay,
Oh,
so.
she can only for
A
herself.
lot of people just don't
Like Elon
like
Musk.
him.
But
Yeah.
why?
I'll give you a reason why. Maybe not from an SNL perspective, but I think part of the reason is he's promised a lot and underdelivered. I'm still waiting for his Hyperloop. He promised that in 2012. I'm waiting, sir. Where are you? Listen, if you're at SNL but you're not building the Hyperloop, I think we got a problem.
I mean, but if he's sending people to Mars, you gotta relax.
I mean, I guess that's
You
kind
gotta relax.
in a little bit of a way.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but you know, I thought it was cool. I thought he actually did a pretty good job. Dogecoin did take a hit though, which was interesting.
Was it related to the bad performance?
Well, I think it was related.
Shots fired.
I think it was related to just like, to me, when they called it a hustle, I was like, ooh, that feels weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's like to
Yeah.
call it a hustle. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I keep telling you, it's a cryptocurrency you can trade for conventional money.
Oh, so it's a hustle.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
Why did you say that, man?
But then also, I was thinking about these like big figures having a lot of power.
Yeah.
And it's just like this Dogecoin thing, which I'm totally invested in. It's like a power flex a little bit, you know, because it's like I'm on SNL, then it like kind of skyrockets, and then it's like, okay, I kind of expose myself on SNL, then it drops.
Yeah.
It's like,
Did you think it was weird that his mom name dropped Dogecoin?
well, she's totally a supervillain, but
It was definitely a smart move. I mean, that was intentional, obviously, 100%.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
The
of
cutest
course.
part about the whole thing was her mother was on SNL. That to me, that was like, oh, that's awesome.
She totally looks like a villain from Krypton, though.
She's absolutely
is.
gorgeous, though.
She
Like,
is. No,
she is
she-
like a
yeah.
stunningly beautiful older woman. She
Absolutely.
came out and I was like, damn, that's his mom? Wow, okay.
She's like, and I'm here to take your souls.
She's like, don't give me any of those coins.
No, and I mean, but so my thing with I just the weekend update thing, I was like, oh, that
was
feels
weird.
weird.
So what is Dogecoin? It's like, well, it's cryptocurrency, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So what is Dogecoin?
Yeah,
They just
it-
kept asking him, and he's like
It's
trying
hard
to
to
explain. And
explain.
he's like, all right, here's $1. Explain to me what this means and how it's relevant to what you do. He's like, well, metaphorically speaking, I don't know.
But it's the same thing as if we really think about it, it's the same thing as $1. It's pretty much it's not tangible. That's the
Exactly.
only thing.
Yeah,
It's just not
It's
tangible.
currency, but it's a little bit different in how the dollar is backed up versus how cryptocurrency is backed up.
Right.
So that's a major difference.
But it's
though.
like if I hand
It's
you like
decentralizing
if I hand you a
banks.
glass and like, hey, for this glass, give me that loaf of bread. Oh, you want 2 glasses? That's just currency.
Yeah, it's a barter system.
Yeah, absolutely. Elon Musk, I think he did a good job. I did lose
don't
a couple
know.
dollars. I don't like that though.
Don't like that part.
But-
I lost a couple dollars too, but performance-wise, I don't think it was his best. I mean, to be fair, what do you have to compare it to? I guess
The only alien that actually did a good job on
His
film
mom?
is E.T.
Oh, absolutely, that's
But
true.
salute to Elon Musk, man. I think I'm not mad at it.
Interesting
Listen, I'm living another
performance.
day to see another performance. We'll see.
I don't know if you guys saw, but recently in the news, Chris Brown shockingly was.
Shockingly,
Are we not shocked? Okay.
Absolutely
well,
not.
disappointingly, can we say
Yeah,
that?
because I really like him
Unsurprisingly.
I like him as an artist. I love him as an artist.
I love him as an artist too, but what was it? I think I saw he was on set. Was it on set?
No, it was a party.
Okay, so he was
It was
at
a
a
party.
party and he had the audacity to say, no darkies allowed in his party.
So
And this man has a daughter. Does he not? Like, what kind of example are you setting for your child?
So the story
I don't
was
get it.
a girl came out and she was talking about how I think it was like her
she had 2 or
and
3 friends.
2 or 3 friends.
Yeah.
One friend was white and the other 2 were light skinned and she was a
Exactly.
brown skinned girl.
Mm-hmm.
And he pretty much came out and was like, friends are cool, you can't come in, no darkies allowed. You know,
Exactly.
quote unquote. That's so disappointing to me. You know,
Not surprising, though.
it's totally disappointing, but you're right. It's not surprising, but not based upon Chris Brown. It's not surprising because of society.
100%.
You know, and I think, you know, I hate the fact that Chris Brown, I don't expect
Fumbled
shit from
it up
Chris
again?
Brown. I actually come to the point, I don't expect shit from Chris Brown. It's
you
like,
shouldn't.
like, he's probably high as a kite. Makes sense.
Flying real high.
Yeah. But then also it's just like, really? Are we going to Chris Brown for like politically correct shit? Not giving him
Yeah,
a
I
pass. Like that colorism stuff, I don't rock with. I think it's horrible. I think it's tasteless. And I actually believe like it's so like it's so deep rooted in self-hate.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
crazy.
100%.
Yes.
Well, it kind of goes to
100%.
the similar thing of people who start using lightening creams and all the things. I think there's a
Right.
societal pressure for you to look a certain way. There's
Serena
a side.
Williams just came out with a new image, and her skin is
Yeah.
like super, super light. Did you
Yeah.
see that?
I did
Yeah.
not. I did not see
Yeah,
it.
I did.
it's like.
Was I surprised
super,
though? As I
super
think it's a
light.
similar thing. Absolutely not. I think at the end of the day, you've come to expect that this is kind of the norm because what's expected, what looks pretty, what is an image of prettiness or
That's what's
beautifulness.
been sold to us.
Yeah, it's what's been sold to us. I think from a Chris Brown perspective, no darkies allowed. Like that's just a phrase you should never say. If you don't want
Yeah.
someone at your party,
Yeah.
tell them you don't want them at your party, but never say you don't want them at their party because of an attribute, right? And I
Right,
think
right.
that's absolutely what he did there, and that's just absolutely not okay. It doesn't matter if it was Chris Brown or someone else. In this instance, it was him. You know, tough luck. It was bad.
But
But at the end of the day, you still grow up with similar struggles. Like you still understand what it means to be a person of color, what it means to be a black person in the United
Right.
States.
Right.
Would Chris Brown have been okay if someone told him no darkies allowed? Absolutely not. So
Right,
at the
right,
same
right.
time, why is he going around doing the same thing to other people? And it's basically just because he doesn't want them at the party. Just tell the person, I don't want you at my party. That's it. Don't bring in race. Don't bring in skin tone.
I
don't
mean,
know.
I feel like it was just one of those like, just it was just it was weird, and I think he was definitely on one. I'm not giving Chris Brown a pass.
I don't know where his logic came from with this, but I just have to reiterate, like, he has a brown child. Like,
Yeah.
he's raising a brown child.
Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
and everything is on the internet. And she has access to the internet. You know that
and she
little
could
girl
see her
has a cell
father
phone.
saying some
She's
She's
dumb
gonna
shit
see
like
that. How screwed up is that kid gonna be
Yeah.
if she in her head thinks like, oh my god, like, wait, I have brown skin.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
But I mean,
why
he-
does my
he-
father
he's
look at
literally-
brown women in this way?
He's literally passing the toxicity because
Yeah,
then what's going to
yeah.
end up happening, you know, if she ends up being a little darker, I don't know what her mother looks like, and
Mm-hmm.
clearly based upon the no darkies allowed, she's not dark skinned. You know, but she's going to look at darker complected people as ugly or whatever the
Or
case
not
is.
accepted.
Yeah,
Or not,
and
yeah, exactly.
and
Not
it's just like-
accepted or not having the same opportunities as white women, and she's gonna idolize
yeah.
white women and not like look to black women to be role models and.
I
all
But
think
then
that.
also Instagram has like that same kind of thing. If you look at people who do like the filter and it's like the rosy
100%.
cheeks and the light eyes, it's like
But they've also
What
come
the
into they've also
slimmer
come-
nose.
But they've also
Yeah.
come into a lot
Yeah.
of scrutiny because of that. Like a lot of people have been saying like, why is this the portrayal of beauty for Instagram? And I
Yeah.
think it's a similar thing.
And it is changing. We can't say that there has not been progression because there is.
I mean, how many people think Lupita Nyong'o is now, you know, the face of beauty, and she's a beautiful woman,
gorgeous,
amazing. Are you
Yes.
kidding? So I think there's improvement to be made, and I think that there is improvement that we're kind of going towards that direction.
Yeah.
We took a little bit of a step back when you hear Chris Brown say something like "No darkies allowed."
It's
Yeah.
not a step. And you know what? It's not a step back because I don't believe like he has that much power
I
to
hope
like
not.
push
All right,
everything
I
back.
hope not too,
But I just feel like
it's disappointing.
I feel like with that like. Yeah, he's
He
definitely
still has a huge fan base, though.
but
And they
that's
listen to him.
that's society. Like we're scarred by society with that type of bullshit, and I think it like it's not been proven. You know, like
Yeah.
that's just literally it's bullshit that right is what is it? Light is right or whatever that case is. But you know, there's other things happening in the world. Chris Brown, get your shit together. China drops the ball or the rocket, shall we say? So China launched a rocket.
Uh-huh.
And launched a rocket. It was launched in April, and it kind of like re-entered the it really re-entered the atmosphere. Like this week, like yesterday or something like that. And NASA is like totally shunning China. Like, you guys fucked up. You did some wrong shit. So what happened was, it just sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it just sounds like they launched a rocket and didn't really have a end game. It was like, it's gonna land somewhere.
Like me when I take a test. Maybe I'll get 100%, maybe I'll get 50.
What? Damn, that's like maybe I'll pass, maybe I will fail horribly.
That was dumb. That was their
yeah. So they're like,
maybe it'll land in the ocean, maybe it won't.
But we do know it's coming down. That's just like wait a what?
So it did come down. So they were like, it's gonna come down somewhere.
Yeah. And
you guys will figure it out when it happens.
So China was like, I think it's gonna re-enter the atmosphere at like 10:24 p.m.
Yeah.
NASA was like, no. It resurfaced or it re-entered the atmosphere at 10:15. You're a little off, and then there was just like debris falling.
Yeah.
And I think the debris fell in like somewhere near the Maldives in the ocean. So it just sounds like debris was just like falling and just landing wherever it landed, because the rocket itself was like 10 stories from what I hear. So it pretty much like
that's huge.
And it disintegrated as it was coming back into like Earth's atmosphere. So it was just like shit was just everywhere, and China was like, whatever.
Sorry.
You win some, you lose some in a situation, I guess.
But do you feel like this didn't make such big headlines? Because I saw some really funny memes that was just like, oh, there's a rocket falling from the Earth's atmosphere from China, and we don't know where it's going to land. Meanwhile, in America, it's just like people going about their day.
They're like, bars are open.
Bar stools. We're out here.
Here's
like,
the thing.
it didn't make such huge headlines, and especially not in America.
Well, here's the thing. I think it made more scrutiny because it was China. Chinese relations have been strained for a while, so I feel like that's probably a little bit more why they're like, yeah, didn't do well. Like, I don't know what this is.
Would it have been bigger news if it was a Russian rocket or a North Korean rocket?
Or Iranian.
Oh my God! Yeah.
100%.
This is interesting. We need to tap into what China News is talking about. Does China have a Fox News? What?
I mean, they got some news.
Let's find out with the Fox News.
We'll be right back. We're gonna lock into China's Fox News
and get back to you.
It's selective, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God!
Kind of news.
I'm sure they do.
But we're alive, so that's a good thing.
We survived.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayweather versus Logan Paul, right?
We talked about this last time.
Yeah, absolutely. So June 6th is the fight. So, me personally, I feel like they're selling the shit out of this fight. I feel 100%. Like this is marketing at its best, and it's happening. I don't feel as if Jake Paul snatching Mayweather's hat was planned, because
get Al Heyman out here. Yeah. Let me call Al Heyman. Let's make it happen. I'm on 2 in 1 night. Got your hat.
Mayweather's haircut was not ready for
Said otherwise. That's probably why he was mostly mad.
Man, and I'm like, the whole gotcha hat situation was just like,
oh my God.
If you snatch my hat a day before I go see my barber, we have such a problem. And if you actually saw like Jake Paul's face after, like, they went hands on. Like, that wasn't an easy win for him.
But did you see how like he immediately branded that gotcha hat
and got a tattoo?
He got selling hats.
100%.
And he got a tattoo.
That's the whole ploy.
Who got a tattoo?
Jake Paul got a tattoo that says gotcha hat.
I
100%.
can't.
Crazy.
This is all for the clout, though. This is all for the money.
This is becoming.
I mean, come on.
I would say it's more so for the money versus the clout, because Mayweather actually has more followers than Logan.
No, it's the clout. It's clout for Logan. It's the money for Mayweather.
I mean, I think it's a circus show no matter what.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're selling tickets.
Like this is clearly like the bearded lady versus like the fucking most strongest man in the world.
Can you clarify? Because I'm a little confused. So why were they in the video like face to face? Isn't that like usually like what the weigh-in means? So when I saw him, I was like, wait, is that Jake or Logan?
Wait, I just had a whole like epiphany.
I saw that.
It's total marketing. Because right now I think Jake has a lot more like
followers.
And just heat on
He's
him.
traction.
Like, he has more like attention to him because you know his Instagram is popping. He knocked out Nate Robinson. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
he's moving in that way. And Logan, I think Logan is a little more boring than Jake. So Logan doesn't sell it that.
Yeah.
Oh
He
shit!
just said, but you were just saying that Conor McGregor had something to say about the whole thing.
Yeah, like, well, he was basically telling Mayweather, like, how can you stoop so low? Like, why are you basically doing something for the publicity or for the money? Like, you're a real professional. Like, like chin up. Like, what the fuck?
Also coming from an MMA fighter that actually stepped in a boxing ring that did it for the money. So Connor,
You?
relax.
Oh.
Oh,
Relax.
you're saying he's the last
Yeah,
person
you
to
gotta relax.
I
to
mean,
go into
Yeah.
That's
So-
a little bit of a
that's-
revert.
Yeah, so it's like when Canelo said it's bad for the sport, Canelo is a boxer. Was like, don't do this to boxing.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, you're not a boxer. You know what I mean? So it's just like, dude, relax. This Logan Jake Paul shit, and I truly get confused on who's who. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry,
Who's who of
I'm
who,
sorry, but
because
like
same
they
for me.
look the same to me.
It-
I don't know. I get very confused.
Well, they're brothers, so
Well,
that makes sense.
Which one was
Yeah,
the one that
I'm-
married Tana Manjo for like 2 seconds? Is that Logan?
Who?
Okay, never mind. MTV star. Who
In,
knows?
insert the crickets. But this, you know, but
No clue.
I think what gets confusing to me is just like Logan is taking the fight, Jake is doing the marketing. It
Yeah.
it
my
becomes
God.
one of those like, this is silly. I mean, it's clearly a money grab. You know, Mayweather's doing it. That haircut though, bro.
Oh my
that
god, do you
shit-
think like they targeted him? Like they were
No,
like,
they
let's
targeted
become
who? No,
boxers
no,
and
I-
target like
I truly believe this is
This
total
is set
marketing
up.
strategy.
To me,
Total
this
marketing.
is set up.
Yeah, this is a
On both
rollout.
sides.
This is a marketing rollout.
100%.
So
Gosh.
Mayweather versus Logan Paul, June 6th. It's in Miami, right?
Miami.
Yeah.
Yep.
Miami. We're
At
tuning
the
in.
Hard Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hard Rock, Miami.
Should we do a fight party?
We got it. We got it.
Yes.
Matt, Ainsworth, we're coming. Fight party at the Ainsworth.
Oh.
Oh,
Alright.
I like that. Yeah,
like that
we're
too.
in there. Let's make it happen.
So Trump is in the news. He has a new blog, and I think it's called like, I don't want to promote it. Whatever.
Well,
It is, but it's like from
It
the
is
desk
what it
of
is.
Donald J. Trump, which is funny because have you guys seen the pictures of like him trying to make like his office look like the Oval Office?
No.
Oh my god.
It's obsessed.
Let's not reminisce.
So obsessed. And weirdly enough, someone was talking about how he was like he's gonna run again because of just like the whole having a voice thing, and they were like, you know, well, Facebook was like, okay, you're still off, you can't come back on,
And Twitter.
and Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's
So
not
so
forget
so they were
All the
saying
medias,
that
yeah.
he's probably gonna run again because, you know, if a presidential candidate or whatever the case is, it's tougher to ban like candidates or whatever from being
Social
on those
media.
platforms.
Yeah, of course.
So they were like, he's probably gonna run just for that.
Just to get back on social media?
Well, hold on. That's where I see this whole Trump new blog thing. It's a whole, I want to have my own platform. I'm banned.
I just want people to hear me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm banned from Facebook and Twitter. It's like,
Yeah.
let me have my own blog. But hold on. I think the
Fine.
biggest part of that is his blog is actually attached to a website which is selling merchandise for Make America Great.
I mean, he's America's he's politics Kanye West.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But so my question is he gonna run under the new America First Party? Because that's like the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Matt Gaetz, like aren't they like
Yeah.
on tour? I heard Matt Gaetz is actually on tour to just like get some legal funds
man.
up, which is interesting. I mean, and that goes into the whole Giuliani thing, which Trump has yet to pay, by the way. Has yet to pay Giuliani, who now has a lot of legal fees.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
sure after
Yeah.
all this.
So it's just like,
nonsense.
all right. So this whole thing is the GOP is in peril. Like everybody's jumping ship who's true, like, Republicans and all this other stuff. Right now, what's the guy? McCarthy is now just like over Liz Cheney, who is probably the most Republican person in the fucking world. Her father's Dick Cheney. Period.
Yeah.
So she just didn't sign on to the whole election was stolen, and the GOP is just like, you out of here, because they need Trump, which is weird. So it's just like, if you don't buy into this bullshit, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And she's like a true ass Republican, and you're just like, if you don't buy into this guy's bullshit, which saying the election was stolen, you're ousted. That's crazy to me.
100%. I think there's an interesting thing happening within the Democratic and Republican Party, certainly with having Trump been a president, where it's now like, do you have my allegiance? And that's far more between are you Republican or Democratic, which is like, do you support me just because I say these things and they are important? And I feel like so many people are jumping ship because of that, because they're like, our true values were on Republican values, and these are them, and they're not necessarily what you're saying. And
they're
all
like,
of a sudden,
who the fuck is this guy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they're like, listen, we followed you for a bit, and because you were Republican, and we thought you held our ideals.
You were
but,
votes.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, this isn't actually about being Republican. This is about being Donald J. Trump. This is about being, Donald Trump and following me, and that's it.
So this goes back to the money Mayweather, money Donald Trump.
How did this come back to Mayweather?
I mean, because Trump is solely here for the money, like solely here for the money.
100%.
Because then he also served cease and desist orders to like candidates that were utilizing his name and all that other stuff, and the whole MAGA thing with no.
Is it about the money though, or is it about him just feeling good about himself? Because I feel like he's got the money. He's got the influence. I don't necessarily think it's about the money.
I don't believe he has the money. I don't believe he has the money.
He doesn't have tangible cash assets. He has...
He does not have Dogecoin.
Exactly.
He's got the, let's say, phantom money. Let's call it that, right?
Okay.
Where it's like, you've got your name, you've sold it, Donald Trump is a name, and that's
he's a branding guy.
some extent has brought you money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he maybe doesn't have the actual assets, like cash money. Like, I'm going to withdraw this amount, and this is how much I've got. But at the same time, I think he's in it. I don't know if you ended up reading the book that I think it was his niece who wrote about his life, and basically that he has a problem, and the problem is mental. Like, he needs to be
He's a failure, and his father allowed him
his
to
own
know that
niece
he's a
came
failure.
out and said that he has a mental issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's also a clinical psychologist though, so she's got the right. She actually studied this. She went to great universities.
Yeah, credible source.
Yeah, 100%. And she's also close to the information.
Which is interesting because I also believe that toxicity has been passed down to Junior.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because that's how his father raised him. So my thing is with this new party, which is like the QAnon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. Does this new party, pardon the pun, does it trump the GOP?
Yeah.
That's scary.
That's a good question.
Because now it's like...
Because we used to talk about, like him as, the cultish, kind of culture behind Trump right now.
Absolutely.
So,
I'd say ish. A lot.
Well,
Totally
I didn't want to, go straight in.
I think he's probably going to run again. I mean... I think his bullshit has been exposed, though. But, will
it be enough is the question.
You know what? To be honest, he lost last election, so I think,
I hope it's enough.
Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie.
The Tokyo Olympics. They're coming up, and you know what? There's been a little bit of controversy these days.
Is there always controversy based around the Olympics, though?
100%. There always is.
Right?
Always.
It's like getting everybody in a room, nobody say nothing. No.
A couple years ago, it was how badly it was built. Now it's this.
What country it's in. It's always
100%.
something. But this one is more relevant, I think, to the U.S. because
in the current issues.
They have just said that they don't want any BLM merchandise mention, anything. They want it all banned during the games.
And a lot of like the athletes are actually like backing this whole thought, which I kind of agree with, because this is one of those, like, it's about the competitiveness, it's about the sport,
The
you know,
sport,
it's about
the art
repping your
of the sport.
Yeah.
Let's not turn
But-
this into a political thing. We want to keep it like
Right.
purely about what these athletes have trained their whole life, blood,
Right,
sweat,
right.
and tears, like hours and hours of work every single day. This is like the moment of their lives, their dream to be at the Olympics, and they don't want like politics to take their dreams like away from them.
Here's the thing, though, that I'll say.
Go ahead.
At the same time, like, I totally see what you're saying. I hear you. But at the same time, like, when you are a person of color, when you're black, when you're a minority, you're bringing your true whole self
and
to
this
the
is what
event
we're doing,
as an
right?
athlete. And at the same time, like, you're basically saying, I can't fully represent myself because I can't make a statement. And the truth is, when you are black, when you are a person of color, just being yourself is a political statement. What I
Absolutely.
will say, with the Tokyo Olympics particularly, is that it's not about the Olympics in Tokyo. It is an Olympic
Just
rule
overall.
in general. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I think it's an Olympic rule where you shouldn't be talking about politics, religion, all these things. So I get that. That comes from 1968. Like that's, you know, something that's happened for many years, and I think it's just being pushed a little bit more today because of the climate we're in. And it's like the Tokyo Olympics has said this.
Well, speaking of the 1968 Olympics, I feel like this is something that you cannot bypass. This has to happen, you know. And it's I don't know if you guys ever saw the show Boardwalk Empire, but there was this
love that
line
show.
in there to where it was he might have been a villain or whatever the case is, and someone was like, "Don't take it personal. It's just business." He's like, "How can I not take it personal? I'm a person, ain't I?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is
I
just
that.
like, you know, maybe they're not dealing with this in other countries, but just with the 1968 Olympics, which was iconic for one, fucking winning the gold medal and getting up there and raising your black fist. It's like, this is what we have to do.
Exactly.
I have all you guys' ear. You have to hear me now.
Exactly.
And that's what this is. So I understand that they don't want this to overshadow what the games are about, because the games are really about unity and everybody coming together. But at the same time, we're not okay in this country.
Yeah.
Right, and
You
like
know?
what a lot of people maybe didn't realize is that a lot of the athletes are in support of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing I'll say as well is, one, punishment isn't clear of what's going to happen if they do something, right?
Yeah.
But what I will say as well is, while it's not okay during the game, technically you can bring up Black Lives Matter movement, like if you're in a press conference or if you're having a talk afterwards, you certainly can. So it's not to say that you can't mention it at all. But I guess the biggest question for us, you know, us three sitting here, is, well, how do we feel when you can't bring it during the games, you know?
Well, I think what's going to end up happening is it's never actually brought up during the games. Like, we're gonna, you know, people are gonna get up there and people are gonna perform.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the 1968 Olympics, it's like they weren't running with black fists. They won the medal and then got up there and said, now we got the gold and the silver, which I think it is. Now we're gonna say what we need to say. So it's like, it doesn't necessarily need to be like a Colin Kaepernick thing to where we're kneeling during the game.
Yeah.
We're going to do what we need to do. And then at the same time, now you have to hear us. I feel like that's what African Americans or just minorities in general go through. It's like, we have to show up. We have to be the best. We have to be
100%.
great. We have to do all that. And then at the same time, we've done all this for this country that doesn't give a fuck about us. And then now we have the gold medal and you're putting us on this pedestal, but then at the same time, you're telling us to shut up.
Yeah.
Having like a international platform, you know, years back, there was like an issue in China that actually transitioned over here to the NBA about what was it, like the Houston Rockets owner kind of tweeted something about things that were going on in China. And, you know, Yao Ming, who was a big Chinese basketball player who played for the Houston Rockets, kind of, you know, China was really upset about, you know, this American owner actually mentioning what they had going on in their country, and was like, you can't play any games over here. So it was one of those things to where sometimes you just utilize that international platform. You have to. Because there are things going on, and it's just like, you know, you're from Honduras, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if my Honduras friend is telling me about something that's happening in Honduras and I don't, like, I'm like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to talk about it,
Yeah.
you know,
Relevance
and
is
like,
key.
that's going to happen, you know, and it's just one of those things to where if there's an international audience, whatever this country that we're in is going through, we have to talk about it. It's a
100%.
must. You know, it's almost like a duty in a sense. Like, we have to talk about it. I mean, and to be clear with the whole Chinese thing, no more exhibition games. They were saying in China.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's just one of those, like, we're gonna talk about it. So things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So use the platform. It's a must. It's an international platform. You have to use it.
Something that we really wanted to talk about this episode was critical race theory. And up until a few minutes ago, I did not know that my dear friend Manny just so happened to write his college thesis on the subject. So I'm like, what perfect timing. What better way to, like, have you come in and just tell us some factual points of, like, what the hell is really going on in the U.S. on that subject.
Literally the universe. The universe literally did that.
Literally. I totally agree. But Manny, please, just give us, like, a few ideas of what this means and, like, what you've studied on it.
Because you can explain it. And I think the biggest question in the news, like, this week is, what is it?
100%.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so really, that's a great place to start, right? What is critical race theory? And I feel like there's so many different opinions on where it started, what's the origins, but more or less so, it started around the 70s, 80s, and it was really an idea that race is not biological. Race is something that's socially constructed, and really, part of my thesis was understanding, where did race come from? Where did that idea come from?
Okay.
And a huge part of it is race has been constructed biologically from a religious perspective, from a timing perspective, but the truth was that it was constructed. And I think that's really the message of critical race theory, is that this is a social construct. Race is not, you're better because you're white, or you're better because you're black because you have these features, but it's more or less so we've adapted to the times and we've constructed this meaning for white and black based on that.
Can I this may sound super
100%.
left field, but is that like the theory of the brown egg, white egg situation?
It is similar, but I
Okay.
think with critical race theory, there's several components that you're thinking about, right? One of the major components you're thinking about is racism in the U.S. is normal. It's not something that all of a sudden came about, or it's not something that it's in the past, let's forget about it. It's in present day. All of the institutions we have are inherently racist, and it's because of where our history comes from. And I think that's something that is a little bit overlapped. There's a couple of more points that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but I definitely want to hear about your point and Jen's point on where you stand on racism being normal in the U.S.
Well, the interesting thing about that, and I mean, we were having this conversation off camera, but it's just like, even the whole idea of the police, you know, like in the
100%.
tie to the Ku Klux Klan is what was that movie recently they tried to redo something of a Nation. What was that? Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
So that original movie actually showed the birth of the Ku Klux Klan, which was, they were known as like the superhero to save America from the quote unquote villain,
Exactly.
African Americans or black people, you know, and it was just like, one of those things to where they came in and saved the day. And you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where the whole idea of the police force came from.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's also, just when you think historically of the police, originally it served a very different purpose. And today when you think about policing in the US and you think about racism, it really is an institution. And racism is still there because that's where it really was born from. I mean, at the end of the day, who did the U.S. serve? It was rich white men. And that's not who a lot of black and POC people are. And so that's the reason when we talk about racism still being a U.S. norm, it's really that. It didn't serve our interests. It didn't serve a minority. It didn't serve black people. And so at the end of the day, it can't inherently be for us. And we can't inherently be, you know, the common U.S. American. But at the end of the day, we're put at a disadvantage. And so one of the second points that is part of critical race theory is like anytime there is an advance, it's generally in the interest of the majority. So we think about, for example, the political reform in terms of prison systems, right? We say today there is really no slavery, there really is no racism, and that's what a lot of people say. But take a little
bit... is kind of like slavery.
100%. Well, that's what I was going to say, right?
Well, profitable prisons, because in other countries, prison is
not profit. Exactly.
100%. System.
100%. I think in the U.S., when you start taking a look at the for-profit system, a lot of people don't know that you have to have 98, 99, 97% occupancy in prisons. And so basically that incentivizes the whole prison force and that the whole prison system to then go ahead and say, hey, we need to look at quotas and we need to look at people who are going to police. And where do they look? They look at areas that are poor. They look at areas that are predominantly black. They look at areas that are predominantly, you know, people of color. And they start policing them a little bit more rigorously to meet their quotas.
Isn't that where the whole like Rockefeller law off-camera conversation, we were talking about Russell Simmons and Kamar Lee Simmons. Wasn't Russell Simmons involved in like the whole like passing of the Rockefeller law, which was I don't know the specifics of it, but it was something of the nature of you can't do massive time for like having a certain amount of marijuana or whatever the case is on you, or some, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that's what's so interesting when we look at prison systems and the prison reform system. When you look at, for example, possession of marijuana, or you look at possession of drugs in general, you will almost always see leniency in places that are predominantly white versus predominantly black or predominantly, you know, minorities in general. And I think that has such a huge story to tell. People are always like, well, it's the crime. But if you look at history, it's not the crime. It's the people attached to the crime.
Absolutely.
And you start taking a look at not just race, but class. And that's a huge part of the American system where it's not just about race, it's about class. But what's the sad history? The sad history is that class ties really well into being black or being a minority in general. Whereas a lot of whites who are rich, they tend to obviously enjoy the privilege of being affluent. And you have few exceptions, and this is what a lot of people say. Well, we're not racist because there's a black football player, a black basketball player, and they're rich.
I got 4 black friends.
But the exception is they're rich. It's not necessarily the race.
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
Exactly. And that's a huge deal, though, because at the end of the day, it is an exception to the rule. And if you look at biology or you look at science in general, you never play at the exception. You play at the general rule.
Right.
And that's what we're looking at. Critical race theory is about a general rule. What are the trends we're seeing within a nation, within a race, within a legal system? And what we're seeing is that in a legal system, you're generally pretty gypped if you're a person of color or minority.
Have you guys seen the interview on Mark Lamont Hill's show with the Republican
Vernon Jones?
Yeah,
the black Republican Vernon Jones, who totally made an ass of himself.
Okay, what is critical race theory?
Christopher Columbus discovered America. Well, you and I both know that Christopher Columbus got lost. People are already living here. But there are those who are using their own ideology and their own party affiliation to go to the extreme. Now, if you can't understand...
But what is it?
And if you want to debate, well, to me, what it does, to me, my interpretation, as well as many others.
No, not what it does. What is it? How do you define it? I'm just asking you to define critical race theory because my audience may not know.
Obviously, you don't know, and you haven't told your audience. But again, how I see it and how
I
it's
don't
been
know.
received. Well, then what is it then? No, what is it then? Okay,
Well,
wait,
I'm happy to answer that for you, but you're saying
just answer. I'll tell you what. Just
I
answer
will.
for me. Let's
Absolutely.
not get into debate. Okay, I'm waiting for you to answer. Go ahead and answer.
I will. But just hold on one second.
Because he clearly doesn't understand what critical
race
Race
theory.
theory, yeah.
Yes,
or the
critical race
importance of
theory.
it.
Wait,
Yeah.
what did I call it earlier? Clinical?
Clinical?
Yes, my bad.
So
So,
not
no,
the same
critical
thing.
race theory, in I think that's like what has been the news of this whole thing is because the GOP is against this,
Yeah.
you know, being taught in schools and all this other stuff, you know. But to me, it's interesting because it's almost like America's running from its history. You know,
100%.
like Vernon Jones also mentioned in that interview, he brought up Christopher Columbus. He was like, yeah, Christopher Columbus just got lost.
Okay.
Yeah, but he also got lost, had dinner with people, and slaughtered them, and we call that Thanksgiving. So it's just like, it's a little bit more to the story. You know what I'm saying? So I think with this whole theory, what's interesting is it's almost like America's hiding from its history, you know, because it serves like the interests of like dominant white groups. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and to me, when you hear dominant white groups, you cannot think white supremacy. Like
Yeah,
that's what it sounds
100%.
like, you know, and then it goes into like negative stereotypes to preserve the interests of those white groups. So it's like, yeah, Christopher Columbus got lost. But it's like,
Did he?
but that killed a bunch of people, you know, and it's just like you can't run from your history. You know, you have to teach. Say, if we're gonna teach history, let's teach the whole story.
Exactly. And I think I want to draw a parallel as well when we're talking about critical race theory. There's a whole bunch of news around Basecamp, which is a SaaS technology company, similar thing, right? Where they're today saying, hey, we actually don't want to have any political discussions. And
Right.
what does that do? That serves the interests of minority white groups. Like,
Because it removes a voice.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very similar point where it's like today we're in a world where it's like, actually, let's silence the minority. And I think that's what critical race theory is trying to bring up. It's to say, actually, let's not do that. Let's give them a voice.
Yeah.
Let's tell the story 360. Let's
Right.
give a full picture, which is not the case today. The case today is we've always given the side of history on the side of the prevailer.
Right,
That's
right,
not what
right,
we want to do.
Right. And I mean, that's why we call what happened when Christopher Columbus got here Thanksgiving, and we celebrate it and act like it's just about food and giving thanks. It's like, nah, bro.
There's more to
You
that.
killed people. Like that's not okay.
Trying to hide it.
Yeah,
Don't
like,
talk about it.
It's not okay. So, all right. So we're gonna go down the line. I personally say it should be taught in schools.
100%.
It should be
Yeah,
taught.
no, it should be taught.
And I also think it should be taught.
Yeah.
And people, like, for so long, we've been taught to, like, hide this part of our culture.
And dress it up.
And
Yeah.
in this new generation that's coming up, they have more questions. They want to know, and they're just like, we're
Yeah.
not here to hide it. We're so integrated now that
Yeah.
it can't even be hid if we tried. So it's like it has to be taught. We have to figure out a way for it to be taught that everyone can come, at least try to come to an agreement
and,
on.
And that's the
But,
thing is like
something has to.
and that's the
has
thing
come
is
to
if
light.
you disagree, like let's debate it.
Exactly.
Like let's talk.
Let's
don't
talk.
don't
Let's
don't
debate
don't
it.
tuck
Don't
it under the
deny it.
rug. Like let's
Exactly.
talk about
You
it.
can't tuck it under the rug anymore.
Guys, this has been a very, very intense conversation. You know, that's what this whole show is about. You know, in all honesty, the show is pretty much about having difficult and uncomfortable conversations. You know, so I am super grateful that we've had this conversation. You know, and I'm super grateful that we have Manny on here. Thank you for joining us because you really are super knowledgeable on that topic, which is so random that everything just happened in the same, in the same space, and we totally know that you're a spy, but no worries.
I mean, okay.
And that's what the show is. Like, I'm happy because I feel like this is what it is. Like, we delivered what this show is, and it's tough conversations, but we get to a point of understanding. So, with all that said, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
I am one of your hosts, Taurean. Follow me on Instagram. No, follow the podcast on Instagram at Pardon My Ignorance Podcast. And then follow me at just JUST_Taurean TAUREAN. And follow Manny at
It's Cappuccino Time Blog.
Totally a spy. Like, what?
Is that at It's Cappuccino Blog? That's it.
Spell cappuccino.
That's it.
Spell
At
cappuccino.
It's Cappuccino.
Spell cappuccino.
CAPPUCCINO. That's it. You got me. All travel pics, all coffee, all blog. Feel free to follow me. If you want to have a political discussion, DM me.
It's all dope.
Amazing.
I love it. And follow our girl over there
at J_APPELS. And then, of course, our producer at
Insta INSTA Pena PENA _ and if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And funny enough, cappuccino is a word I really cannot spell.
He was genuinely asking.
100%. It's what it has to double spell check, so it's fine.
Right. You threw me off.
Not just me.
But then also, because I like how we're having this conversation about the education system and things that should be taught in schools. And next week we are hopefully we can pull in my cousin, who I'm super proud of, who is like a finance guy. He totally understands.
And if he's watching right now, no pressure, cousin, but we're
100 pressure.
We're pulling you in.
I'm just gonna call your mom, period. So no, hopefully my cousin will come on because he's super passionate about finance being taught in schools, and I think we kind of like open this whole thing up to what should be taught to certain people and to our youth and to our future. And Chris, his name is Chris. Yes, I am Chris. I am putting you on the spot, bro. Yes, please come on. You could zoom in. If not, I'm gonna call you mom. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do. Thank you guys for tuning in, Manny. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Cappuccino Assassin. That's
Cappuccino Time Blog.
Ooh.
Cappuccino Time Blog.
Time Blog, yeah.
Yes.
So dope, man. See you guys. Tuning out.
See you guys next time.